सदर ओबामा ने बात की अमन पसंदी और जमहूरियत की, लेकिन देखा जाए तो ज़्यादातर मुस्लिम ममालिक में अमन तो है लेकिन जमहूरियत नहीं है। और फिर हमास जैसी डेमोक्रेटिकली इलेक्टेड गवर्नमेंट को आमतौर पर अमन पसंद नहीं समझा जाता। तो सवाल ये है कि क्या सदर ओबामा इस मसले से किस तरह से डील कर पाएंगे? क्या वो अपने आप को सिर्फ बादशाहों और डिक्टेटर से बात करने तक ही लिमिट कर सकेंगे, या फिर वो ऐसी डेमोक्रेसी से भी डायलॉग कर सकेंगे जो लोगों के फ्रस्ट्रेशंस को रिप्रेजेंट करती हैं, उनकी रद्द अमल का इजहार करती हैं?
No system of government can or should be imposed by one nation by any other. That does not lessen my commitment, however, to governments that reflect the will of the people. And we will welcome all elected, peaceful governments, provided they govern with respect for all their people.
So my question to you guys is, we saw that Obama talked about democracy and peace as the standard for the kind of governments that he would like to talk to. But when we look at the Muslim world, many of the countries, they are peaceful, but they don't have democracy. And on the other hand, you have government like Hamas that is democratically elected but not considered peaceful. How can the gap be bridged? How can he overcome this dilemma? Is he going to be able to just limit himself to talking to regimes that are repressive but peaceful? Or is he also going to be able to talk to regimes that are democratic but represent people's frustration? They're reactionary governments. And I'll start with you, Sarah.
I don't think he can limit himself to either group. As he was saying, it's time to reach out to everyone. So he's going to have to talk to, both types of governments. And the way he can, I guess, bridge the gap is by saying what he did, that however they are, they need to respect certain things of the people that they govern, and that they need to be nonviolent and do things in a way that respects and has a way of including the people that they are governing. But there's no way that he can just stick to one group or the other at this point.
But Micah, I'll ask you, in case of governments that have radically different views of things, that have different views of issues because they're dealing with very different issues compared to the US, how do you bridge the gap in that case? Do you have to choose between peace or democracy, or can you talk to governments that don't really combine those issues together?
Well, I think the fundamental message of Obama's speech was finding common ground even in places where it doesn't seem like there would be. So I think certainly agreeing with the last answer, Obama definitely cannot only talk to sort of democracies or peaceful countries, that he'll have to talk to everyone, and has made clear that he wants to include everyone with overtures to Iran in particular. I think that it will be important for Obama to look to other ways of finding common ground, like issues of climate change or hunger or disease prevention that are in everyone's interest and no one can object to, as ways to possibly start a dialogue with countries who differ on other issues, as a way of sort of getting around those differences but creating trust between nations that are often opposed.
So you're suggesting that issues, let's say in case of Iran or Hamas again, environmental issues may not be on top of their list, but those are some things that we can bridge the gap through. Emily, you're a student of environmental politics. Mm-hmm. What do you have to say to this?
I think that is definitely a good way for Obama to bring everyone to the table, or at least to show them that it's all part of the same conversation, that we're all in this together. It's just one small world, that the interests of Iran are the same, fundamentally the same interests as America, the interests of everybody, that we all want to be able to continue developing, moving forward, becoming better educated, being healthy, those sorts of things. It's the common things, the fundamentals, and I think that those are good ways to pull everyone in.
But Abbas, I'll ask you this question. What if these issues are not at the top of a country's list? Some countries have issues that are very different from this. They're vying for they're vying for freedom at a global level. They're fighting for their identity. In that case, how do you, again, we keep coming back to the same issue, but core issues might be the same, but they may not be my priority, but they might be yours. How do you, as a president, what do you recommend?
I think using really prescient historical examples. So I really liked how Obama talked about East Asia and how they have grappled with and dealt with the consequences of modernity on their societies, while also addressing in a very thorough way their own traditions and their own cultural context in which they live, and not having to give that up. And so I think an honest appraisal of how priorities may be different, and also an honest approach to not disrespecting or disregarding things people hold as fundamental in terms of their worldview or in terms of their social formation when talking about areas of cooperation, whether it's economic, political, environmental, social, or what have you.
All right, great. Thank you so much. यहाँ पे वक्त हो रहा है एक ब्रेक का और ब्रेक के बाद बात करेंगे सदर ओबामा के खिताब में उनकी लैंग्वेज और टोन के बारे में। हमारे साथ रहिएगा।
वेलकम बैक। सदर ओबामा ने मुसलमान ममालिक और अमेरिका के दरमियान समझौता पैदा करने के लिए एक बहुत मुख्तलिफ राह इख्तियार की। उन्होंने अपने खिताब के दौरान एक मरतबा नहीं 3 मरतबा कुरान से हवाला दिया।
As the Holy Quran tells us, be conscious of God and speak always the truth. That is what I will try to do today, to speak the truth as best I can. The Holy Quran teaches that whoever kills an innocent it is as if he has killed all mankind. And the Holy Quran also says whoever saves a person, it is as if he has saved all mankind.
Here's my question to you guys. The President repeatedly referred to different passages of the Quran. He referred to different parts of Islamic history during his speech. Why do you think he made all those references? And who do you think he was speaking to? Let's start with you, Abbas.
Great. I think I would say that the reason he chose to cite the Quran that number of times and pick those specific passages is because the central message that he's trying to convey that Islam represents is a message of God consciousness in everything that one does, as well as a sense of justice and mercy in the world. And the audience he was aiming for was the audience of either the religiously practicing or the religiously devout in terms of faith. And on either case, in terms of Muslim populations, he was able to connect with both ideas, precepts, and with emotions that they could connect with, and thereby create a linkage between the values that he's trying to represent as the US president and connect those ideas of human rights and justice and, as he said, living under God with the feelings and the beliefs of Muslims around the world.
Would you like to add something, Albert?
I think there are two concepts that also he tried to convey. One is respect, and I think the other was honesty. First, with regards to respect, it was respect towards Islamic history and Islamic civilization. He referred to tolerance in Andalusia, for example. And with regards to honesty, I think we can look at a section on the Arab-Israeli conflict. He was being very honest with both the Palestinians and Israelis. With the Israelis, he was saying the Israelis must halt settlements. With the Palestinians, he said they must renounce violence, and also recognizing the plights of the Palestinians.
Would you like to add something, Micah?
Sure. I thought that it was certainly throughout the speech, almost every time he made a reference to Islamic culture or the Quran, he got a lot of applause. And I think that it was obviously very successful because it was a way of including his audience and showing, sort of acting through his speech, that he actually did care about the other culture and was finding common ground throughout his speech. So instead of just saying, oh, we should have common ground and there is common ground, he was giving specific examples in his speech of where it was. And I think that was one of the big criticisms, or at least apprehensions about the speech, was that Obama would say all these things, but that there would be no policy or no clear ways of enacting it. And I think that doing this and the applause that he got was a clear indication that it was very successful.